Right now it's 11:04, but by tomorrow this time, I might not be the man.
Good morning. We will be beginning the meeting shortly, so I'm going to ask everyone to come in to take their seats, please. Good morning. I'm Lottie Beebe, and I will be chairing the Educator Effectiveness Committee this morning, and it is indeed a pleasure to see so many of you in attendance today. So at this time, I will call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Ms. Beebe?
Here.
Ms. Beebe's present. Mr. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Bennett present. Ms. Bophy?
Here.
Ms. Bophy's present. Ms. Bradford?
Here.
Ms. Bradford's present. Ms. Dastu? Ms. Dastu's absent. Mr. Garvey? Mr. Garvey absent. Mr. Gio? Mr. Gio absent. Ms. Hill? Ms. Hill absent. Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Lee present. Ms. Orange Jones? Ms. Orange Jones absent. Mr. Romer? Mr. Romer present. Dr. Weems? Dr. Weems present. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, Abby. Next item.
Your consent agenda is ready for approval. We're adding items 3.1 and 4.1.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve consent?
So much motion.
A second? Second. Okay, Ms. Bradford, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Any objections? Okay, the next item.
Your first item is item 2.1, consideration of the endorsement of the 2011 Learning Forward Standards for Professional Learning on page 1. The recommendation is to endorse.
Okay, we have
I'd like to make the motion to endorse, please.
Okay, you want to
Second.
make that a second? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, any opposition? Hearing none. The motion carries.
Your next item is item 4.2 on page 10, consideration of the revocation of the Louisiana Level 1 Teaching Certificate number 426396 issued to Mr. Michael Francis Vinning. The recommendation is to revoke.
Okay, I'll need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Romer has moved. We need a second. Ms. Bradford, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Your next item is item 4.3 on page 21, consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Mr. Michael Francis Vinning. We need a recommendation from the board to grant or deny a Louisiana teaching certificate.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion to grant.
A motion to grant?
Mhm.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd like to know if the individual's here today. Okay, great.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask Mr. Vinning to come forward. Good morning, Mr. Venning. At this time, we'll accept some comments from you.
Wow. Thank you for having me here today. 9 years ago, I was living the only life that I knew of at the time. And yes, I made mistakes. Long story short, broken home, left to raise myself, and made some bad choices. Since then, I've learned that there's a new way. And it may sound cliche, but God found me, and the last 8 years have been very eye-opening and a journey to rehabilitation and a new way of living. I've actually been teaching for the last 4 years, and the last school I was at granted me a level 2 certificate as well as tenure. So I'm a good teacher. I know this, and I just pray for the opportunity to continue teaching. I now have a wife and a 3-year-old son. I have a life now, and I would just love to keep it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Venning, and certainly with the documentation I have received, I know that there is much support for you, and you have indicated with great sincerity that you made poor choices in the past. But so, do we have anyone else who would like to discuss this?
I just have some comments, some questions to Mr. Venning. I'm reading your statement, and you said, under advisement of my attorney, I did not disclose the felony on my record because at that time I honestly believed that I did not have a record due to the expungement and subsequent setting aside of all charges. Your attorney told you not to put that you had a record?
My attorney at the time, and again, this was 8 years ago, I asked him if he thought that I would ever be able to teach again. And he said, I don't see why. Why not? Because once this is all taken care of, we went through the process. It was a 4-year process, and it's expunged off your record. It's like it never happened. So you shouldn't, like it won't even show up. So with regards to that,
Obviously it did show up.
Yes, sir. I was oblivious to the law as it related to.
And speaking of that charge, how many charges have you had expunged?
2, I believe, as it.
Because I'm looking at different charges here at different dates. And,
yes, sir.
one was criminal trespass, another one was, I don't understand the maximum speed limit. If you get a felony for maximum speed limit, probably all of us have a felony assault. But
that was not a felony.
this morning, yeah.
I never received a felony.
But the charge that we're talking about is in 2005, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that was a number of charges all in one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Bophy?
I think this goes back to an issue that we cleared up at an earlier meeting where the form says one thing and is not clear about the fact that charges that have been expunged actually do show up. I think since then that form has been updated so that we're not putting our educators in this position to even have to seek legal advice to fill out the forms. So this is a problem that's occurred, but it is something that the board has addressed in the terms of the way the form reads. I hope we don't have many more of these that come before us for that reason.
Ms. Dasty?
Madam Chairman, I made the motion. I rarely make motions to grant, but I think he put forth a very compelling case and some really strong supporting documentation, and therefore that was the reason for my motion.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, Ms. Bophy?
I would like to say that I think based on your experiences that you can offer a unique perspective to our students about the fact that they do face some very tough times. Many of our students come from situations where they'll have backgrounds much like yours. And so my hope is that you can use those experiences to positively impact our students.
Yes, ma'am. And I already have, and it's happening. I feel the same way. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so all in favor of granting the request?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries. Next item.
Your next item is item 4.4 on page 48, a consideration of a records review regarding the issuance of a Louisiana teaching certificate appropriate to the credentials of Miss Yolanda Armstrong. We need a recommendation from the board to grant or deny a Louisiana teaching certificate.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to grant or deny. A records request. Is she here, Ms. Davis? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
To grant or deny?
Well, she's going to be an motion. I just said move, so we
Make
have
one.
discussion.
But make one, grant or deny.
What is the motion, Ms. Bradley?
To grant.
A motion to grant. Ms. Bofi seconds. Now for the discussion. Okay, at this time, we'll proceed to have Ms. Armstrong speak to her concerns.
Well, I'd just like to say, first of all, thank you for having me here today. And I know that there isn't a perfect person out there, and I have made mistakes, and I do believe that my mistake was about 17 years ago. And since then, I have done everything that I can to just be a positive person, to be a good role model. And I made a lot of changes in my life in order to become a teacher. I think I first discovered that I liked it maybe about 3 years ago when I started substitute teaching. When I was in that classroom, it was like the greatest platform ever to mold the minds of tomorrow, and that was something that was really important to me. I think that it's very important that we have good people out there trying to promote the right, I guess you would say, attitude or morality in order to improve the lives of our students. And it just overjoys me every single day when I'm there with those children, helping them to see things differently and to know that the one wrong choice can definitely end everything that you are trying to accomplish.
Okay, is that it, Ms. Armstrong?
Yes, ma'am.
And I totally agree. And then you have now, we'll possibly have the forum or the venue to talk about experiences and making the right choices. So I agree. Other discussion, Ms. Bofi?
Ms. Armstrong, when I read your letters of recommendation, they didn't speak specifically to your past, and so I was interested to see if you were coming here today, and because my question for you is if the individuals who wrote these letters knew about your past.
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Okay. Do you know why they didn't write specifically about the issue? I mean, they gave you recommendations of your character, which I think is important, but it was concerning to me that they didn't address how you've made changes.
I just think that basically what they were trying to do was just give me character references to state who the person I am today. I don't think they were trying to refer to the issues that I had in the past.
Okay, Mr. Roman?
You completed your program at LRCE,
Yes, sir.
and how long ago, again, were your violations?
17 years ago.
Okay. Any other, Ms. Bradford?
Yeah, I don't make a recommendation to approve very often, but I did think that you had a compelling statement. And so what I would encourage you is to be sure that we are so proud and glad we did this for you.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Lee?
The conviction was in '96,
Yes, sir.
and what have you done since that time?
Since then, I have I've been a banker, a tax preparer. I've done a lot of different things career-wise. But like I said, when I found teaching, I knew that that was something that I really wanted to do.
Now she's not previously been certified. Is that
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
Are there any other questions? If not, we do have the motion to grant. And so, all in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion carries. And at this time,
This completes your agenda for this meeting.
okay, thank you.
Mic test, mic test. This is a meeting of the Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee, Tuesday, December 4th, 2012, 9:30 a.m.
We'll be starting the meeting at 9:15.